September 7th, Bowling Green, Warren County Planning Commission meeting. And McKenna, if you would call the roll, please.
Commissioner Drain. Commissioner Gay.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Graham.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Shaw.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Starks.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Vitale.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Volkert.
Yes, ma'am.
And Chair Warren.
Yes, ma'am. Commissioners, you have the minutes of our August 17th meeting in your packet. Are there any questions? Hearing none, would call for a motion, please.
Moved.
Second.
Commissioner Volkert.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Drain. Commissioner Gay.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Graham.
Abstain.
Commissioner Shaw.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Starks.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Vitale.
Yes, ma'am.
And Chair Warren.
Yes, ma'am. Commissioners, you have the subdivision and site development plans in your packets that were mailed. Are there any questions? Okay, hearing none. Ben, do we have any old business? No old business. Mr. Moore, we now enter into our public hearing. If you would administer the oath, please, sir.
Mr. Warren, I request that you order the record to include relevant statutory and regulatory provisions, the Commission's entire file for each application on tonight's docket, and the qualifications for each staff witness. Finally, I request that you administer the oath to each of those witnesses.
Swear to tell the truth? Yes, sir. And you sound just like your dad. All right. Our first item tonight.
That's a good thing.
No, it's just like it. All right, that's a good thing. Our first item tonight is 2023-04 DP. Eric Mills has filed an application to amend the general development plan conditions approximately 1.51 acres on the property at 2260 H.E. Johnson Road with the general development plan. Ms. Hurt?
Thank you, Chair Warren. We had a pre-application meeting back in August for the property you just referenced, located on H.E. Johnson Road. This is the current aerial view, and you can see that the current zoning is RE, residential estate, and it was rezoned to RE back in 2016. The current land use is single family, and the future land use is agriculture. And the applicant has applied to amend the development plan, including the development plan conditions for this property. The main purpose of the application is to amend the restrictions to allow the 3-bay workshop that is currently under construction to remain, and the location is shown on this exhibit. The applicant is also proposing to amend the required materials for the workshop, remove the color requirement for any storage shed on the property, and also remove restrictions relating to outdoor storage. And so in reviewing this application, the staff found that the proposed development plan amendment does not impact compliance with the future land use map. And we also found that the proposal complies with the majority of the criteria assessed in the review process, remains consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan, and is generally compatible with the surrounding area. And for those reasons, our staff recommendation is for approval, pending any public hearing testimony. That is all for the staff report, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Hurt. Commissioners, any questions for Ms. Hurt? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Is the applicant here? Anything that, yes, sir, anything additional you would like to provide? If you do, I mean. No, I don't have anything to add to it unless anybody's got any questions. All right, thank you, sir. Is there anyone in the audience tonight that has questions or oppositions to this request? Hearing none, would call for a motion, please.
Make a motion to approve the proposed general development plan amendment, docket number 2023-4 DP, based upon the testimony and docket presented in this public hearing. The proposed general development plan amendment is consistent with the adopted Focus 2030 comprehensive plan, as demonstrated by its compliance and objective and action items presented in the staff report. Further, I also find that there has been major changes of economic, physical, and social nature within the area of the property in question, and I request that the findings of fact and recommendation include a summary of evidence and testimony presented by the witnesses at this public hearing.
Commissioner Gay.
Ma'am.
Commissioner Graham.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Shaw.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Starks.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Vitale.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Volkert. Yes, ma'am. Commissioner Drain. Chair Warren.
Yes, ma'am. The motion is approved and goes to Warren County Fiscal Court for final approval. Our next item tonight is 2023-53Z County. Southern Craftsman Homes, LLC, care of Chris Leptinsky, the applicant, and Barbara A. Cox, the owner, have filed an application to rezone a tract of land containing approximately 5.02 acres located at 1501 Fuqua Road from Ag to RR Rural Residential with a general development plan. Amy?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We had a pre-application meeting on July 14th for the property that you mentioned. The current zoning is agriculture. Current land use is agriculture, and the future land use is agriculture. And again, the applicants are proposing to rezone in order to subdivide the existing home onto a smaller single-family residential lot and develop an additional building lot. And the site plan can be found on page 11 for your reference. Looking down at the bottom of the page, the proposal complies with the majority of the criteria assessed in the review process and is generally compatible with the surrounding area. Therefore, the staff recommendation is approval pending public hearing, testimony, and discussion. That's all we have for staff report.
All right, thank you very much.
You.
Commissioners, any questions for Amy?
Give me a sense, if you would, of what are the homes in the area? The development plan conditions allow, for example, just CMU block foundations and 100% vinyl.
Sure. So I guess the existing home that the property is being subdivided from is constructed of vinyl siding and does have a concrete block foundation. I guess 60% of the homes in the area have vinyl on that, and the remaining are constructed of brick and hardy board and metal. The foundations are kind of a mix of plain face block, split face block, and brick and post and pier. I guess that's kind of the general feel of the area.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioners, any other questions? Thank you very much, Amy. Is the applicant here? Anything else you would like to provide? No. All right, thank you. Well, yes, sir. One of the commissioners has a question. If you would come to the microphone, please, sir. Yes, sir. If you would state your name and address, please.
Chris Leptinsky. My address is 179 Fuller Drive, Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Swear to tell the truth?
I do.
Yes, sir. We have a question.
Mr. Leptinsky, what is your intention with regard to the exterior of the building?
I was going to do vinyl siding, which is similar to the home next door, and I do split face block.
So would you be opposed to amending the development plan condition to include split face block and to eliminate the possibility of just a CMU block foundation?
I would, yeah.
All right. And Mr. Moore, if you would memorialize that for us and get that approval.
I'd be glad to. If you would tell me, I heard the split face block, what was the second portion?
So right now, I guess we just amend DPC number 3, and it says it shall use either block, brick, or stone. I think if we simply change the word, or put a word in front of block that is split-faced block, you guys help me here, but would that do it? Okay.
So, development plan condition number 3 would read, each new residence shall be constructed of vinyl, brick, stone, split face block, or concrete base siding.
So I'm sorry, I didn't do a great job with that. I'm referring to the second sentence in DPC number 3. The first sentence can stand as it is. The second sentence would be all exposed foundations and skirting shall use either split face block, brick, or stone.
I agree. I think that's sufficient. And that would read, each new residence shall be constructed of vinyl, brick, stone, or concrete base siding. All exposed foundation skirting shall use either block, split face block, brick or stone.
We would eliminate the word block. We're not going to leave that as an
And
option.
no,
in it.
not allowing block.
Yeah, yeah.
Split face block.
Split face.
Add split face in front of block.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm,
Do you,
Yes, I am.
Chris, do you agree to that?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Moore.
thank you all.
Commissioners, any other questions for Chris? All right, thank you, sir. Is there anyone in the audience tonight that has a question or opposition to this request? Hearing none, would call for a motion, please.
I make the motion to approve the proposed zoning map amendment together with and conditioned upon the General Development Plan docket number 2023-53Z County, based upon the testimony and documents presented in this public hearing. The proposed zoning map amendment is consistent with the adopted Focus 2030 comprehensive plan as demonstrated by its compliance with the objectives and action items presented in the staff report. Therefore, the proposed zoning map amendment is in agreement with the adopted comprehensive plan. Further, I request that this motion include the summary of evidence and testimony presented by the witnesses at this public hearing.
Commissioner Starks?
Yes.
Commissioner Vitale? Commissioner Volkert? Yes, ma'am. Commissioner Drain? Commissioner Gay?
Ma'am.
Commissioner Graham?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Shaw?
Yes, ma'am.
And Chair Warren?
Yes, ma'am. The motion is approved and goes to the Warren County Fiscal Court for final approval. Thank you. Our next item tonight is 2023-54ZBG, Keystone Development Group, LLC, care of Matt Tabor and John Ballance, has filed an application to rezone a tract of land containing approximately 2.2 acres located at 0 Cornerstone Avenue, Veterans Memorial, from highway business and RM multifamily residential to RM4 multifamily residential with the general development plan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We had a pre-application meeting back in June for the properties over on Cornerstone Avenue and Veterans Memorial. There is an aerial for you all. The current zoning of the properties is, like you said, highway business and RM4. Current land use is vacant, and then the future land use designation is commercial. And there is their site plan for your all's reference. The applicants are proposing to rezone roughly 2.2 acres from RM4 and highway business to just RM4 in order to develop the properties with a maximum of 60 multifamily residential units. The site plan is also on page 12 if you need a closer look. The properties were rezoned respectively from HB to RM4 in 2017, and then the remaining portion was zoned from Ag and RM3 to Highway Business in 2019. Looking down to the bottom, the proposal does comply with the majority of the criteria assessed in the review process and is generally compatible with the surrounding area. There are a couple of points that we'll look over to page 3 for. First will be the proposed 3-story building height, as well as the bulk and scale of the proposed 60-unit structure. And that's under the surrounding architectural features on the top of page 3. So the current DPCs for the Keystone Commons limit building height east of Hickory Street to 2 stories in height. The apartments on Fox Ridge Court are also 2 stories in height. The DPCs for Keystone Commons require uniformity in appearance. No buildings, excluding garages or storage buildings constructed to the east of the extension of Hickory Street, shall consist of fewer than 4 dwelling units and no more than 8 dwelling units. The apartments on Fox Ridge Court contain a maximum of 8 units per building and are also uniform in appearance. The applicants are proposing to construct a 3-story, 60-unit building. This is not consistent with the height, bulk, or scale of any of the existing multifamily buildings that are located adjacent to the proposed development. And then the final point to consider will be under the open space or residential amenities, which is also on page 3 under the proposed open space. The minimum amount of open space required in the proposed RM zone is 15%. The applicants have not agreed to provide any additional open space or residential amenities within the proposed development. So looking back to page 1, staff's recommendation is for approval pending public hearing testimony and discussion of those points. That's all that I have, but I'm happy to answer any of your all's questions.
Thank you, Jenny. Commissioners, any questions regarding the staff proposal? Okay, is the applicants here or the representative, anything else you all would like to add? Yes, sir. If you'd state your name and address, please, sir.
On Ballance, 13101 Louisville Road.
Better tell the truth.
I do.
Thank you, Mr. Ballance.
So address a few of the concerns that the staff had. Part of the property, we're a group off of a group. We're the part of the group that did the Keystone Development Group. The whole plan and part of that group is wanting to do this. So basically what we have is we got RM4 and commercial. And right now commercial is being, you know, it's struggling when single-family homes are so affordable and there's just more of a need for that. So the current binding elements of the general business right now, it has a lot on materials and a lot of things, but it has the new structures constructed on the property should not exceed 4 stories in height. So the current development plan conditions for the general business already talked about going higher. That was always our thought, is we'd build taller commercial on the front, and then that kind of gives some blockage for the multifamily behind. And as you know, the economy and everything's changed, we thought the commercial would be less advantageous, just more multifamily. So it was always kind of in the plan to have taller buildings down there. Part of Hickory is part of the Greenways Trail. We had to build our sidewalks 8 foot wide, and these sidewalks are going to connect to that. So we're not providing additional green space, but the Greenways Trail is going to be like, it's right there. And also we have a park that's catty corner across the street, Russell Springs, Russell Aquatic Park, and that whole park is just very, I mean, you can see it from where we're at. So that's kind of our thoughts. It was always in the plan to do taller buildings on the front, and that the land cost made it such where if we did a bunch of little 8-plexes and lined them up with veterans, you just couldn't fit enough units to make it make sense. So we wanted to do a bigger building, make them all match. So that's kind of our thought process.
Thank you, Mr. Ballance. Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Ballance?
John, on your units back there at Keystone, what is the makeup of the materials?
It's brick and siding.
Brick and is siding a, is it just in the soffits, or is it part of the building? It's on the sides of the building? So the front and back are bricked and the sides are vinyl?
I think it's just where, he's building a bunch of them, so he's more familiar.
All right. Yes, sir. If you'd state your name and address, please, sir.
Matthew Tabor, 933 Three Wood Circle, Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Swear to tell the truth.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
They're vinyl siding, so it's a single story is brick, and there's some brick that goes up, but majority of the second floor is vinyl soffit. And this we want to use hardy board instead of vinyl, just because it's on the front of the road and to kind of match what's.
That's my question. So y'all put 75% in. Would you be okay at 100%?
Brick and hardy?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Except for the soffits. I mean, they're going to be,
Yeah, absolutely.
But the
Yeah.
exterior, flat
Yes.
exterior
Okay.
for sure.
Yeah, we could just say exclusive of soffit
Yeah.
material.
Yep.
And that would
Okay.
get you there.
Yeah.
All right.
And we do want to make this hardy, like I said, because this is what the first thing that people see. And then there's Fox Ridge, which is brick and hardy. And to address earlier, one of the points, I mean to steal the mic, but the height. So this lot sets about 20 feet below Fox Ridge's property. And then the very front of Keystone, where the apartments start, behind this, there's a street. And then on the other side of Cornerstone there, it's all apartments. I'm sure you guys are familiar with it. We're about 15 feet below the lowest point on the other side of Cornerstone. We're right at 40 feet below the top of Cornerstone. So with that being said, our gutter height should be lower than anything around it. And then we do have approval on the Hickory Street, which is a couple lots down, but it's the main road going up through the development. On the left side of it, we do have approval for 3-story, 24 plexes on it. It's 288 units. It's already been approved. We actually had a building permit at one point, but stopped during COVID on that. So there is a like kind 3-story building in the area. It's 300 yards away, 250 yards away.
Just going back to that first DPC, Matt, do you use Hardy or do you use LP smart siding or do you use Hardy?
We would use Hardy on these.
Okay, we'll leave it the way it is.
That's the plan.
Yeah, we'll leave it the way it is. LP is actually not a cementitious material.
It's a wood material, right?
Yeah, so we'll call it out, but if you use Hardy, we're good.
Yes, yes.
I'm not opposed to LP, but if that's what you're planning to use, I think I'm good with that.
Yeah.
So, is this got like single ownership? Is this, can these be sold individually or?
No, so, to backtrack a little bit, so there's 5 of us in Keystone Development Group. 3 of us are here tonight. Thad's our engineer and partner, and John and I are separating off to buy this tract from the group. And then what was the question again?
So I'm thinking, I'm going two things here. Is it single ownership? So
It would just be he
you
and
guys
I.
are going to have the whole thing?
Yes.
And then, so are you going to have like an HOA or something just to make sure it's well kept, that sort of thing? How do you deal with that?
The apartments on the other side of Cornerstone have their own HOA. It's called the Villas at Keystone Commons, but we don't have an HOA for the one building.
So this would be just for this one building?
I don't think you need an HOA for
Yeah.
one building.
Yeah, I would, but this is not a part of the other one, right?
No, it's in the same original 40-acre tract.
But it wouldn't be a part of that HOA. It would
No,
just be, these
no,
would
sir.
just be a standalone.
You're
Okay.
right.
All right, very good.
Do you know the mix of what you'll be building in the 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms?
We have a concept plan. I've got 3 copies of it I can pass out if you guys want to look around there. John Williams, our architect, he did the apartment complex up on Hickory Street, which is about 250 yards away, and then he took a building plan that he drew on Scottsville Road. Some of you may be familiar with it. Behind Mancino's, closer to Greenwood High School, 60-plex. Actually, it's 64 units. But he was going to take that plan. Do we have a picture of that in the file? How do I get to that?
I think we're roughly thinking 48 and 12 twos,
48 ones?
48 twos and 12, which
12 ones. It just depends on how John. We haven't
So-
paid John yet to put a plan together because it's quite a bit of money until we have an approval. But it's the building's footprint and the size of the building wouldn't change any. How do I do this?
Maybe
Rachel?
this is a question for Thad, but that would require about 138 parking spots. Yeah.
Thad, come on up here just a minute, so we can swear you in.
Thad Lucas, 183 St. Charles Street. I
Or
swear to tell the truth.
Thank you.
Yeah, so what we have on the concept plan right now is 48 twos, 12 ones, which is 119 parking stalls, and we have 121 shown, I believe. And that's using the more than 1 mile away from Western, because we're just outside that circle. You're right, if we were 1 mile, it would be the 130. Yeah, we just barely, I checked the website to make sure this time.
Okay,
Yeah,
that was my question.
yeah, so.
Thad, the concept plan doesn't show retention or anything, but I'm sure you got all of that handled.
We did 80% lot coverage calculate when we did the original drainage. This is a weird one. Our basin is actually uphill behind us. So Keystone Commons built a basin for all the lots to the kind of above us.
You get to use that
and then we
basin?
use that as an
I see.
offset for
Okay.
draining just straight into the
Got it.
creek. And it also has our water treatment. So it was a weird deal, but the city worked with us. So.
Good.
if you look at the map too, there's a little section, a little pie, it's 0.17 acres. I've been talking to the owner of that, and that would actually give us a little buffer, more parking. There was some concern about the density. It's 2.2 acres, but we can't rezone the billboard tract, but there's gonna be a shared parking agreement, so we're parking and an egress agreement for the billboard tract too. So we're actually, it's almost 2.5 acres if you add it all together that we're parking on, so that gives the density almost exactly the same as adjacent property.
So you will have a cross easement parking?
And it takes 3 out of 5 votes to get that with our development group plan or whatever, and that's 3 of the 5.
Are you okay if we put that in as a DP?
Oh, yeah,
that-
absolutely.
that for the building permits issued, that there is a cross easement?
Yeah,
Perfect.
absolutely.
That's perfect.
So really, we got two changes, the 100% and then the
Cross easement.
cross easement, yeah.
You wouldn't actually have to have a development plan condition for the parking easement, because when we review
I
the
guess
site
if you meet-
development
if you
plan,
meet your- if you meet your
yeah, we
parking.
would have to make sure that they met that through some sort of cross agreement before it could be approved.
Okay, perfect.
So we would just do
Okay.
that internally.
All right.
So that just makes the one DPC we would change, and that would go to 100%, exclusive of soffits.
So 3 would read, all exterior facades of principal structures located on the property, exclusive of soffits, will be constructed of 100% glass, stone, brick, EFIS, or similar material or other cementitious or modern masonry materials. Block is prohibited as a visible finished material. Is that agreeable?
That's correct.
Commissioners, any other questions for the applicants?
I had a question, and I may have overlooked this. Will there be any signage related to this property? If so, what type? Will there be a sign of any
There's
type?
the billboard that's on the lot, and we had a building permit, but after we've talked to some of the planning commissions, am I saying it right? We talked about moving it to another lot, so we haven't put that up yet. It's still sitting on a trailer.
Okay.
But we show it on there. So but that isn't signage. That's, sign we can put whatever on, but we haven't planned to have a sign there. We don't have a sign on the villas. The neighborhood will have a sign, the whole 40 acres. So it's distinctively 3 different parts. There's an apartment complex, 8 plexes, and then this, and then a commercial across the front.
So the signage will represent the total complex, total
Yeah,
development.
there's one of those, and then, but we don't have one just for this specific
Right,
lot.
okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Commissioners, any other questions for the applicants? Thank you, good questions. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here tonight.
Yeah.
Is there anyone in the audience tonight that has a question or opposition to this request? All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. All right, commissioners, would call for a motion, please.
Make a motion to approve the proposed zoning map amendment together with a condition upon a general development plan, docket number 2023-54 ZBG, based upon a testimony and documents presented in a public hearing. The proposed zoning map amendment is consistent with adopted Focus 2030 comprehensive plan as demonstrated by its compliance with the objective and action items presented in the staff report. Therefore, the proposed zoning map amendment is in agreement with the adopted comprehensive plan. Further request this motion include a summary of evidence and testimony presented by the witnesses at this public hearing.
Commissioner Gay?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Graham?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Shaw?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Starks?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Vitale?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Volkert? Commissioner Drain? Chair Warren?
Yes, ma'am. The motion is approved and goes to the Bowling Green City Commission for final approval. Any new business tonight? All right. Commissioners, thank you all for your time, and thank you for everyone being here tonight. We are adjourned.